Hello, this is Hannah, online better known as Aura Hera. Welcome to my mini podcast called Kazerne Dossin, my experience in the museum. First, I'm going to give you a short explanation for why I am doing this episode. This is made for my intercultural communication lesson at Thomas More Geel. I'm a student there and I study applied computer science. But this is not the main reason why I am sharing this with you. I found that a lot of my family and even friends have never visited the Dossin Kazerne. And I was very baffled with this fact, so I asked them to text me some questions that they may have about this place, and I will be trying to answer some of those today. I think it's very important to also share our experiences with people around you and maybe even with the world. So let's get into it. First things first, I'll give you a bit of a background story about the Dossin Kazerne. So Kazerne Dossin is situated in Mechelen, Belgium, and is serving as both a museum and a memorial. The site was originally constructed in 1756 as a military barrack to deport primarily people to Auschwitz, Birkenau, and other smaller concentration camps such as Fort Breendonk. Today, Kazerne Dossin stands as a place of remembrance, and opposite to the old barracks is the Museum of Holocaust and Human Rights, the museum that we visited. The museum is a multi-floor journey throughout the history, and for example, the second floor goes more into detail about the Belgian situation in the early 1940s, setting the stage for events that unfolded there. What sets Kazerne Dossin apart is its unique approach of linking the Holocaust within human rights. From its humble beginning as a former Jewish museum of deportation and resistance, Kazerne Dossin has grown to accommodate the increasing number of visitors seeking to remember and learn. And that's what we are going to do today. We are going to try to learn more about what happened there. And I have gathered some quite interesting questions that were asked to me from my family and friends, such as, what immediately struck you when you entered the museum? First of all, I already visited the museum previously, but I don't really remember when, but I was quite a bit younger, so yeah, I can't really remember anything from it, except for the picture wall. The picture wall stood out for me, because also in my preparation for this excursion, I was talking about the picture wall, and I was wondering if there were more people put on the wall, and if there were more surviving pictures found. So yeah, that's really struck with me. But also, at that time when we visited, there was a lot of security, and I think it's because there was a terrorist attack the day before our visit. Our teachers did a quick recap of what happened in the train going to the museum. So we had a little bit of a background story to why there would be maybe a bit more security. But yeah, that also really stuck with me. Also, the museum has a real wide interior, and we heard from our guide that that was not the designer's original choice. The designer wanted the museum to look black, but The city asked their residents what they thought about the black exterior of the museum, because the exterior would also look black. And they were very against it because they didn't want a black box in their pretty Mechelen center city, so they chose a white exterior and interior. He also told us about the big elevator doors, because our guide told us that the designer wanted people to look smaller and think about the big things that happen there and put a bit of perspective into the interior and exterior with those design choices. Next question. Did you visit the barracks? This was asked by someone who already visited the museum but didn't visit the barracks. And yes, we did. We stood there for a while. It has been renovated because the barracks are now living quarters. But they have not been living quarters for all of their existence, because the barracks were barracks to hold the people they wanted to deport or transport to other camps. This has been just in the last years that this have been living quarters. And a Jewish organization, and I think it was also with a survivor, they bought the front wing of the barracks because they didn't want people to miss out on the history and the story behind the barracks. And this museum, because the front wing became the Jewish deportation museum, like I told earlier, it got too small, so that's why the new Dossin Kazerne Museum was created. And maybe a little bit of an interesting story about a survivor who also helped buy the front wing of the barracks and also started the museum. He survived. I can't remember his name, but it was French sounding. He survived 3 concentration camps, and I think he has a very strong body and strong soul to survive those 3 horrible camps. And he lived for a very long time also. He died just a few years ago. But you can also learn about him in the museum, because you can find his picture on the photo wall, and you can also watch a video of him explaining and talking about his experience in the Kazerne and also a bit in the other camps. Next question. How many people died there? That's a question I can't really answer, but the main reason for the Dossin Kazerne, for the barracks, was hold people to transport them later on. And I know that 5% of people survived after the war, of all the people that went through the Dossin Kazerne in Mechelen, and 5% of the 25,000 people would be around 1,300 people that survived throughout the war. So I cannot really say how many people died there, but it wasn't that many because they were mostly transported to other facilities or camps. And you may think, oh, 25,000 people, that's quite a lot of people. Or maybe you might think that's not a lot of people, but it were not only Jewish people that were gathered there. It was also Romani and gay people, and even people from Belgium or the Netherlands or Germany with a Jewish background that were gathered there. So not only Jewish people, but also other sorts of people. And the German people were a bit brainwashed to think they were brainwashed to think of Jewish people as the imaginary Jew. And the imaginary Jew is depicted as a backstabbing person that looked like a female and male combined, and had a big nose and a big smile of satisfaction on their face. And the people were so brainwashed to think that everyone that is associated with Jews, or that they were an imaginary Jew. So that's why so many people were there to be transported. Second question: how did Hitler come to power? Well, that's also a really difficult question. But Hitler came to power because nobody really said anything to him to stop him from his actions. Nobody really did anything to stop Hitler. So he just went on and made his campaigns and brainwashed everybody to think of the imaginary Jew. So nobody stood up to him and nobody did anything to stop him. What stands out about the Dossin Kazerne compared to other World War museums? I've been to a few different World War museums, mostly in Belgium, but I think what stands out most is the large space and the photo wall that has been scattered to in the different levels of the museum. And there is also I think it was a yearly memorial ceremony where they present the newly acquired items and pictures for in the museum and the research center. And in the memorial ceremony, they also put the newly acquired photos on the photo wall. So that's a special moment to remember to people who survived and who didn't survive. And it's just a whole special ceremony to remember it. And I think that is what this museum stands out for the wall, for the open space, and the museum photo wall. Okay, and last but not least question: would you recommend going to this specific museum? Yes, I would definitely recommend this. It's very big. There are a lot of levels to explore. There are a lot of visuals. Not only the photo wall, but also there is a telling photo about the entrance of Auschwitz. It's just spread throughout one of the big walls in the museum. You can just look at it and think, whoa, imagine standing there frightened to death. It's a breathtaking picture, and yeah, I was almost crying when I saw the picture. I would also recommend it because of the openness, the open space. You can't find yourself claustrophobic because it's a really big open space and you can take your time to take everything in. And maybe I'm a bit biased because we did have a guide. I think also the guide gave us some more insights on what he thought of it, and really explained it to us like with so much emotions, like he could have been a survivor from there. So yeah, if you have some spare money, I would definitely get a guided tour in the museum, because that was really worth it. And that was all the questions that I got. I got some great questions, and I hope that I convinced you to visit the museum by yourself, because it has been a very eye-opening experience for me, and I also hope for my colleagues / classmates. If you have any more questions for me, let me know. Thanks for listening, and I wish you a very fortunate day.